tourism is the lifeblood. And a lot of people, that's their primary function for making money.
Income.
And so we want you to take this serious.
Happy Tourism Month! We are here with an exclusive interview with experienced Turks and Caicos and the Department of Tourism Regulations. I'm your host, Mary, known as Ziggy, with my amazing co-host.
I'm your co-host, Lauren, also known as Lori, and I'm so excited to be talking about tourism once again here. We have two guests, as Ziggy would have mentioned. They are from two different bodies within the tourism industry, and we are going to allow them to introduce themselves. So,
hi, I'm Racquel Brown. I am the Change Manager, Interim CEO for Experienced Turks and Caicos. Happy Tourism Month, everyone.
Hi, I'm Avi Adams. I'm the Director of Tourism Regulations under the Ministry of Tourism.
all right, so welcome to the show to you, Racquel. Welcome back.
I know, right? Welcome back. Thank you.
So we're going to go straight into, since having you back, for those who may not have seen our first episode with you, I want you to just explain to those watching what is Experienced Turks and Caicos all about and what do you guys strive to do?
So Experienced Turks and Caicos was created to allow us to do two things, I would say, more dynamically than what the Tourist Board could have done under their previous ordinances, and which is why the government at the time decided to remove the Tourist Board and to transition to what we are now, Experienced Turks and Caicos. We want to promote the destination as a multi-island destination. It will not just be Provo. We have to really speak to what the other islands have to offer in terms of their value proposition. It's important for many people who are not Turks and Caicos Islanders or residents of the Turks and Caicos Islands that they understand that the Turks and Caicos Islands is a multi-island destination, and that we have like the third largest barrier reef in the world. When persons go for cruises, they need to also understand that, oh, don't call and say I'll see you in Provo, because you really can't see me in Provo the next day or in the day, because for the simple reason it's a plane flight over. For persons to understand, they can do day tours. They can go to North Caicos and Middle Caicos for those who are into soft adventure, or I like to say they like thrills. They can go to South Caicos. They can do charters for fishing, or if they're a little bit more into kite surfing and more thrills, that's what we have to offer. We are trying to ensure that just beyond Providenciales, there is more to the Turks and Caicos Islands. There is our destination that we have the most beautiful beaches in the world. We know that. But we also want to add value to the visitor stay. We want them to get to know the local experience. We want persons to understand that we're just not a beach destination. So we have a varied of product offerings, and that's what we're going to promote. And then on the product development side, which Mr. Adams will speak to, we want to make sure that we are promoting product that meets standards, minimum standards. So we can't be a 5-star accommodation destination and we don't have it across the board for restaurants, for bars, for water sports, for taxi operators. And so we work with Mr. Adams to make sure that he makes sure they live up to the standards, and then we market them because they're maintaining the standards. And so that's really the difference in a nutshell.
Okay.
Amazing.
Right? We got it right?
that covered it nicely.
Yeah, for sure.
And about your portfolio?
So the Department of Tourism Regulations is responsible for mainly the regulations aspect and training. And when we say regulations, so for instance, under the Tourist Board, accommodations would have had regulations because they would be able to get accommodations license every year. And they would have to come in, someone would go out there, do the inspection, and then they would get a license that allows them to get a business license. That's still in play. But now we're in the process of actually drafting regulations for the rest of the tourism industry. And what we're doing is we're going to meet with all of the different stakeholders, whether they're from water sports, restaurants, or bars, or anything. And when we sit down with them, even say tiki bars. So when we sit down with them, we're asking them for their opinion on how to draft these regulations, because they're going to be exposed to different things. And we don't just want to make regulations and they know nothing about it. So we have to include them for their expertise. And then, of course, we want people to live up to these standards, because directly under our ordinance, we're responsible for safeguarding tourism. So we want to ensure that people are living up to a standard that when we provide it to the guests, we can feel safe, assured that there's a high quality inside of any product that we're delivering. And then on the other side, we're also responsible for tides. And tides is the training that would have normally gone to VIP taxi drivers and so on. But it just was used as a stepping stone before to actually get your taxi license, or your public service license, I should say. And now it's something that's being administered to anybody in hospitality. So under the new ordinance that we have now, that which would have been enacted July 1st, anyone working in hospitality has to get the tides training. And the reason for it is, like, most of the locals, if you grew up in the education system here, you'd know all about a lot of the information that we're teaching, because it's historical. A lot of us are being taught it. But then there's a customer service element of it as well, too, to help you teach. And you could never learn too much customer service. We're in hospitality, so everybody has to be trained on that at some point, right? And we also want to ensure that those who are expats, when they come into the country and they're working, so for instance, if you had just came from Asia or that is Asia, or America or Jamaica or anywhere, or as soon as you get in there, as soon as you're working in hospitality, we can teach you all about our country, because it would be, I guess we wouldn't be doing our own selves right if we had people working in the front line of hospitality, but don't necessarily know the lighthouses in Grand Turk, you know? So we take care of that as well.
So just to say, like, so I'm already loving this conversation because, you know, I love the tourism element. And I think that they both collide in so well with Experience Turks and Caicos and what the Department of Tourism Regulations is trying to do. I think it's a really great strategic approach and really helping us to maximize the potential of Turks and Caicos. But what I want to know from you, Racquel, is what is the key, you can say like what three key objectives of the Experience Turks and Caicos? You're watching the #1 talk show in Turks and Caicos and globally. And Lauren, what do they need to do?
Listen, you're already here. You might as well like, subscribe, and follow. You're already watching the episode, honey. Just get on it.
Well, I would say increase air arrivals. And in doing that, our value proposition as a destination, what we have to offer. 2, increase spend on island. And that's where tourism regulations come in and standards to make sure that when visitors come on island across the board, it doesn't matter what sector they are in tourism industry, we can assure them that they're getting value and they're getting safety and they're getting an assured product. And I think the other third most important thing is that, you know, many destinations that Avi spoke to it, tides training, you don't want to come to a destination and you don't know that the person there, they may not be from there, but they can't tell you about the destination. They can't tell you about the history and culture. More and more we see that visitors, it doesn't really, for our demographic, which is the high net worth individual, affluent luxury traveler, that individual, they've been to many places in the world. They understand, they've read, so they want to have an immersive experience. Yes, they want to go to the beach. Yes, they want to come in. They want to have VIP services because those are the minimum. That's minimum. You better have it. If you don't, then they're not coming because that's what they know they're paying for. But they really also want to understand the culture. It's not like you're a tour guide. They want to know if they ask a question, it can be answered. They don't want to, oh, what are you talking about? It's very important, history and culture. It's very important in adding that unique experience and making it our own as Turks and Caicos Islanders want to ensure that they don't lose their culture and heritage. You don't see someone going to another destination, so let's say to Europe, and there's no differentiation between Spain and Italy. There's differentiation. We need to do that in the Caribbean, and I believe the third one is so important because the tides trading is ensuring that when persons come here, and they're in the tourism industry, they're able to speak to the destination and speak to the multi-island destination, just not Provo. And that is very important.
I think both of you guys brought up a really good point. I've been lucky enough that in the past I was able to sit in on a tides training and even have, I think at the time they had a book. So even studying that for myself just to get an understanding of what is it that we're supposed to be learning about within the tourism industry. And as you would have mentioned, it's things that we would have learned in school, going through the school system here, but there's also different parts that are not mentioned that wouldn't have been mentioned in the school system, and just seeing how with the Diets training, like you said, when people come here, they're expecting that whoever is in the tourism industry, if I ask you a question, my expectation is you're an expert on TCI.
Yeah.
Because you're on the front line to me and you're having to deal with me. So now I have to be able to speak to you and say, oh, can you tell me about this place? Or, oh, what about the pirates or something? Things that are so random and out there to the regular person walking around, but in the field of tourism, people are interested and they want to know. So I think it is really important to have those kind of standards in place to say, okay, we want to make sure that across the board, we are offering an equal experience where people are able to feel like they are in a place where people know the place.
Yep.
So earlier, and when Ziggy opened up the episode, she would have mentioned that it is Tourism Environmental Awareness Month.
Yes, it is.
And this is the month of November. So I want you to be able to tell us what exactly is the importance of having a month like this in TCI where we can celebrate it?
It's important because I keep saying this, and I don't think many persons truly appreciate and this fact. The Turks and Caicos Islands in the Caribbean is the most dependent on tourism as a country. And when you say that, persons are like, oh, yeah. But no. If you really understand what it means, it's everything in this country is linked to tourism directly. It's not indirectly in terms of 85% of the GDP. So for us, Tourism Environmental Awareness Month is very important because it is to not just for those working in the tourism industry, but I think it's more of our younger persons. In the Caribbean, we see the traditional opportunities of working in a hotel, or, you're working in water sports, but there's so much more. Persons may not think of it as an opportunity or in the true sense, a career or an entrepreneurship. And one of the ways we're doing that is with our career fair. So we had one in Grand Turk last week. We're going to have one in Provo. And I think the most important thing for us is to shape the minds of an appreciation is that, most persons don't think that when you're an executive chef, you can earn as much as a lawyer or doctor, even more. Mm-hmm. Persons don't realize that. Now, I will say this, it does take a long time to get there, just like a brain surgeon, but there's an appreciation for it. Hotel managers, general managers, those are positions that our young persons need to strive towards. Yes, we may be front desk, or we may be receptionist, head of marketing and sales, but they need to see that future. They need to understand it, and they need to bridge that gap for themselves and see themselves in that position. It's so important because when you have persons of who you are representing your own, and you can talk to them and they can appreciate what you're saying and where you're coming from, they're like, oh, I can do this too. This is not just only for a particular educated person or person who specifically wants to do this. And I always think of like agrotourism. There is through the Ministry of Agriculture a program where we're trying to have everyone probably plant some of their own fruits and vegetables. Now maybe persons are like young people, they're like, I don't get my hands dirty or anything like that. But technology in agriculture has changed so much with greenhouses and hydroponics. So I'm saying to them, the world is so much different from when I think Avi and I started out, or when I started, well, okay, not it was very, very limited in opportunities. And what we want to say to them, if you don't want to be the traditional space, maybe you want to be a developer, maybe you want to be in construction, maybe you want to be in IT, maybe you want to be in marketing and promotions. That's what our career fair is for, career and entrepreneurial fair, I need to say, because it's so important for them not to feel like they're boxed in and they have to do it this way. There are even persons who are lawyers who work in the tourism industry, and you don't think about it because they're like, oh, I have to do criminal law, I have to do commercial law. Law is so diverse now. There's so much to do with copywriting, intellectual property,
writing regulation.
Yeah, so like even in Avi's Mr. Adams' department, he has two lawyers, right? Yeah. So there's so many opportunities for them, and I think if they see it in the traditional, I say, school path, they may say, oh well, I can't do that in tourism. That's not what we're saying. We're saying through the tourism career and entrepreneurship fair, we are saying the world is your oyster. Choose what you like to do. And there's a path in tourism, whether you want to own your own business or you want to have a career. So I think, Tourism Environmental Awareness Month is more of opening our eyes to what tourism has to offer, versus just showing the traditional space. And we want to celebrate that. It's, it's investing in tomorrow, investing in our tourism for today, for tomorrow. And that's our young people. They're going to shape what this looks like. I mean, from 20 years from now. And I think that's so important.
And you know what I liked about what you said is because people need to see more outside of the traditional roles, because we now, as you mentioned, we have these travelers. They're very experienced. They don't want the basics of what has always been done. And they want to come to Turks and Caicos for something that is so unique, that is so different. Like, we have the amazing beaches, but you can find other amazing beaches, other places. So it's what we're giving to them and showing the younger generation how they can capitalize on the opportunities in Turks and Caicos. Because we know that there's market gaps. We know that there's opportunities that they can jump on and become millionaires, quote unquote, if they want to, because the market is there. The people are there with the money that will back it. So what I want to know from either one of you can answer this question is, what are we doing for tourism and environmental month?
Well, specifically, in terms of the Department of Tourism regulations, most of us we're centered around having stakeholder meetings with all of the different departments now. So we've been lucky enough to meet with, I would say, about 5 or 6 so far, but we have so much more going forward. And particularly, a lot of our meetings will center around us at some point meeting with DETR, because they play a pivotal role in a lot of the things that we're going to be administering. Like, for instance, we had a meeting just last week with DETR in conjunction and Experience Turks and Caicos just to talk about bone fishing, because of the impact that it would have, not only with catching fish and the environment itself, but just some of the new regulations and stuff that's going on. So right now, for us, we're concentrating more so on people actually knowing us and getting out there. Because right now, if the average Turks Islander believes I work for Tourist Board, and Tourist Board
and it's now defunct.
Exactly. And so getting our name out there and understanding what it is, because even when we have tides training, right, we have a bunch of consultants who come inside of there, and, well, different consultants, they would come inside there teaching. But we usually would take about 5-10 minutes to educate those people on what's actually happening, because it seems like no matter how many times we say it, we still get the confusion where, okay, it's her and I are just Tourist Board and not two separate entities, Experience Turks and Caicos and, of course, Department of Tourism regulations. But definitely advertising and marketing is a huge part of what we're trying to do, so we can ensure that people could get our name out there more so than anything else.
I have one quick mini question.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to answer I don't even know if we can ask this, but let's see if it's good enough. I want to know, I know you mentioned earlier about the TIDES program and that persons, now would have to do it.
Yes.
Is this going to be a standard also with hotel companies that their employees have to be trained?
As long as you work in hospitality, you have to be trained in TIDES.
So are the hoteliers responsible, or are their employees responsible?
Well, as the ordinance is written, the hoteliers are responsible for it.
Okay.
So they're responsible for their employees. So they would be essentially responsible ensuring that their employees are trained. Because at the end of the day, if someone from the department goes to any particular hotel and asks them a question about say the country, and they haven't done the TIDES training and so on like that, that is something that we're going to end up taking up with the hoteliers. So for sure.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
That was very valuable to know, actually.
No, it is.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine that question. Person's like, oh, well, then you pay for it if you don't know.
Yeah.
They have to pay for it as an entity.
Yeah.
If you're a licensed entity, it's not to the employee, it's the employer.
And, well, the lucky thing about it is a lot of the employees work at multiple hotels.
Yeah.
So once they get the training,
One place,
You're good to go all about, aren't
you
you?
got to worry about the next place.
Yeah.
for sure.
And so we're also having island cleanups. We did recently in Grand Turk, and we're also going to be doing one here in Provincialis. And then also we're doing with the tourism, Turks and Caicos Island Hotel Association. We're doing the Hello Tourist program, where the kids, whereas the career and entrepreneurial fair takes care of those from high schools, the Hello Tourist program takes care of those kids who are in primary school or prep school. So what we're doing is making sure that in all areas of the educational space, from primary to high school, we're saying they're getting in touch, and the kids who are in the Hello Tourist program, they get to basically like check in like a guest, they get to visit the hotel, they get to stay in the rooms, they get to, you know, so they get to feel for the tourists for the day. And for us, it's an experience on the back end. So when they get to high school now, they're thinking, oh, I got to stay, but now I'm getting to see what my future is going to be like. Sometimes we take it for granted because we see all of these hotels on Grace Bay that many persons actually go to some of our hotels. No, they don't. They sometimes don't even know there's a hotel beyond the road, what it looks like. And so we have to educate them, not just from a standpoint of our history and our culture, but also just where the hotels are. Do you know where this particular properties? I mean, persons know like beaches, they know like the Ritz, but there are other properties that persons, just because they don't necessarily venture down in that area, they just don't know. And so for us, it's important that we create this 360 experience in our education system from primary to high school.
Okay, nice. I'm really intrigued by that, the idea of doing it where it's starting from the young students and carrying that straight up to high school, because what I think we found most of the time is that our students, once they graduate from high school, it's more so like you're flung into the tourism industry, being that it is the largest one.
Right.
Right. But giving those students the opportunity to see all the different aspects, be it you are the tourist, you're working on the front end or in the back end, seeing what those different aspects look like, it helps to mold an idea in their minds before they even reach to that stage of going out into the world and working, you know. So
it's so important. I think for myself, I never thought I was working in the tourism industry, and I've been doing it for 20 plus years. So I think for us, it's important because you tend to think of it as a space. This is what it is, but it's not. It's so multi-dimensional now. And I think also the opportunities that are out there for persons to get scholarships, to go away for a year, to study, persons need to do it because that's only going to enhance their skill set once they leave out of high school. You know, it's so important for them because they're going to bring it back to the Turks and Caicos Islands, and that can only enhance and, you know, magnify what we have here.
So also during this month of tourism environmental awareness, we got our first flight from Virgin Atlantic.
Yes, so it's a big deal. Actually, there was a delegation led by our deputy governor and also our minister of tourism, and also we had representatives from Experienced Turks and Caicos and also TCHD and also our private sector or hoteliers that went to World Travel Market. And World Travel Market is one of the biggest trade shows, and I would say trade shows, it's not consumer, it's more business to business. So persons who are booking travel, who want to promote travel, who are editors, travel writers, just you name it, everyone is there. And it's not just specifically for the Caribbean, or it's not specifically for the US. I think many years ago when it started, the UK was that central place for, and World Travel Market just was one of these events. And so you'd go to London to showcase your product. And so this year, we led the delegation, Experienced Turks and Caicos, along with the Ministry of Tourism. And it just happened that World Travel Market was the Monday and the Tuesday. And then our flight, our inaugural flight, came on the Saturday. World Travel Market was on, I think, the 6th to the 8th. And we had our flight on the Wednesday. And so it kind of just made everything coincide and look so amazingly great for the destination, because we now have Virgin Atlantic nonstop. Basically, as persons would say, direct from London Heathrow twice a week. And the best part about it is that the front of the plane, which pays for the plane, is coming off in Turks and Caicos Islands, which is what we want, the higher end customer. And it, you know, most persons are like, yeah, but, you know, there are more people at the back of the plane. But when you look at the cost of a seat at the front of the plane versus the back of the plane, that's what we want. And we want persons to spend more on island. And that speaks into the vision of what Experienced Turks and Caicos is. And so passengers sometimes are like, if they're coming from Europe, they don't want to hop on, they don't want to go to England and then have to change a flight or to have to lay over on a plane. They want to be able to go to the UK and come straight here. So it opens Europe for us now, because we have that nonstop / direct flight that's coming here. For us, it's a win-win. And we're looking forward to next year because there are opportunities for us to go to different trade shows to promote the destination and the brand in the European market. And, you know, the European market that we're looking at, for example, in December this year, we're going to Cannes, to the ILTM. It's a trade show, which is luxury. And we're speaking to travel trade there to promote the destination, which we wouldn't normally be able to say, well, we have this direct flight now from the UK twice a week. So it allows us to open up Europe to us. And, it also, when we go to next year, there are other trade shows that we want to do, like ITB Berlin, where we can have a booth and we really can say we have a direct flight from the UK. Now, they're not saying, okay, you have to go to Miami, fly to the UK, then go to Miami. It's just a one stop. And that is more appealing to our demographic. Some do take their private jets, but there are some who still fly commercial. And so we want that opportunity to showcase the destination. So we're so happy to have Virgin here. It's a relationship that we hope that will continue to grow, and the demand for the destination will improve. It will only make Mr. Adams' life more harder because he's going to have to make sure that the standards for the hotels and across the whole sector, all sectors, of the tourism industry, it's not easy to get planes to come and to make these decisions. So this happening for us is a big deal. We see planes and we're like, oh yeah. No, it's a big deal. If you think about where Virgin flies, they fly to about 7 other destinations, and most of those are mass market. They go to Jamaica, they go to Dom Rep, they go to Mexico, they go to Barbados and Grenada. And so, but some of those flights are also shared. But for us as a destination that is premium and in our competitive space, such as Cayman and Anguilla, they ain't going there. So yeah.
This year, what I've noticed, I'm pretty sure other persons would have noticed it as well. We've been having more persons coming from the European market. So you've been seeing more persons from Spain, more persons from Italy. You've been seeing some people from Russia. You've seen a few Chinese people as well. So you're seeing more people learning about Turks and Caicos, knowing about Turks and Caicos, and wanting to come.
Yes.
And then, like Mr. Adams had mentioned, knowing about the country is so important because persons who are traveling this far away, they're not looking to be interacting with another, where they're from or from another place, or everything just being the same. What they want to see is the difference. Why did I choose to spend all of this money to fly here, whether on my private jet or on Virgin's plane, to come here and to be in Turks and Caicos?
Yeah.
The water is great, but what else can you offer? And I think it's such an amazing initiative that both the departments are doing, and you can kind of hear how they both sync in with each other,
Yes.
like married to each other. They need each other in order to
For
make
sure.
each work.
For sure.
For sure.
Because most persons don't know this, but as Mr. Adams continues on with our new website, so we won't on our website be promoting and marketing when we have Experience Turks and Caicos or My Experience TCI website. Unless you're licensed and you meet the standards, we're not going to promote you. It's going to come. So it's a hand in hand. You can't have a high standard for one sector and not have it throughout. And it's not to penalize. That's not what we're doing. If the website is it's like what magazines used to be, and it's so important because they want to be able to go and see, okay, I want to find a dive master. I want to go to find persons who do tours on ATV bikes. I want to do a walking tour that's just strictly history. If those are not licensed, we will have the category, but they're just not there because we're not going to offer those products. We have to have a brand that speaks to integrity, assurance of quality, and I can't do this without him. So, it's so important that we understand it's not to make our life difficult. If we are a high-end destination, if we're premium, if we're luxury, if we're appealing to the affluent traveler, they don't want to know that you're not doing it.
Yeah.
They want to know that you are doing it. And the minute they find out that something isn't what it is supposed to be, they're going to be like, but what do you mean? Okay, I'll just go somewhere else. They don't make noise. They don't make a scene.
They just go.
They just go somewhere else. So they just go.
They just
go. So, it's very important for us to understand this is where we sit now. The Turks and Caicos Islands has done very well. We're known as a luxury product. So with that comes the assurance to our travelers that we meet these standards. And it only makes sense because then more persons will come because they're like, oh, did you know I sat at the bar and I was talking to this guy and he was talking about all these things. Many times persons go to hotels and they have know nothing about the destination because the person who is the bartender, I don't know what he's doing.
Or isn't speaking TI language we like to call
Correct. Yeah.
Because we like to say that's a part of the entire training. And as she spoke, it's all about, even though they're doing product development, we're safeguarding that product.
Yeah.
So ensuring that everyone just gets to a standard inside of their own industry. Because, like I said, even if you jump on a jet ski, right, you want to know that, one, it's safe. You want to know that the doing whatever it takes to be environmentally friendly. You want to know, because you would hate to jump on a jet ski operator and they're throwing garbage in the water, right? You wouldn't do it because it just would look bad for the Turks and Caicos on all levels. And then, so you want to have the confidence in whenever you're paying for something that you're getting the product that you desire. And then when people come here, they desire the high level luxury product. Yeah. And so that's what we're trying to ensure that everybody is doing, and ensuring that they're keeping up their standards. And to tell you the truth, even when we speak to the public, you'll have people coming up to you and those people will be saying, well, this person needs to do better, and they'll point out everything that's going on and so on like that. And y'all need to police this, and y'all need to do that, and so on like that, or whatever. Mind you, I mean, we're still developing the department because the department is brand new. So that's what, people need to understand. The department would have only started July 1st, and as Tourist Board would have closed on June 30th. So once we get the ball rolling and meet with stakeholders and be able to set these standards, I mean, the sky is going to be the limit. It's just that a lot of people are definitely going to have to get their act together, so to speak.
And like what you're saying, sustainability is a big thing. Persons, and the luxury travelers, they love sustainability. And they don't want you to just say sustainable and you ain't doing it. Because if they see you throw that inside there, they will be talking about, but it was great. And it always comes with the but. Yeah. But I saw him do this. I don't think you should do this. And then, like how we have the Facebook group now where everyone's talking about their trip to Turks and Caicos. They're like, but this was good, but, or, so you want to make sure that also as a company that you're protecting your brand and you're ensuring persons that, like we live up to a certain standard. Yeah. And talking about sustainability, we want to know in 5 years, does the tourism regulations department look like?
So in 5 years, I'll take you in a step-by-step process. So definitely next year, by end of next year, we should definitely have regulations set up across all the board. So for instance, by the time people have to go and register, say maybe whether it's accommodations or even if it's water sports, they would have to come through us to be able to get a tourism license. That's ensuring that the product that they're giving is going to be great to all of the customers. But by the time everyone is doing tides again, because once you get a tide certificate, it's valid for 2 years now. Before it was actually only valid for 1 year. And by the time you're doing it, we're definitely focused on getting it e-learning. So basically you log into a computer, get trained that way, because it's going to be very difficult to sustain training maybe 10,000 people every single 2 years as it comes up. And it can be growing because obviously as hotels open, as more jobs are created, more people are coming on the island to be able to actually take a lot of these particular jobs, and those people have to be trained. And so hopefully we get it to the point where as soon as you're able to log on, and then we want to be able to integrate all of the government systems. So, well, not all of the government systems, but specifically right now, when you come inside of the Department of Tourism Regulations, you're applying for a license for accommodations, and then you're going to be applying for a license, maybe a car rental company or something like that, anything in tourism. But we wanted to have it integrated where as soon as you come and apply to us, you're alerting the fire department that you need a fire license, or you're alerting public health that you need a health certificate, or you're alerting business licensing, and you could track the process of your own license as you go. Okay. And one of the big things that we also had that came on stream is that before people would just get a promise card. And the promise card is something that it's basically to remind you that you made a promise to be an ambassador of the Turks and Caicos Island. But we changed it and we just basically made it into an ID. So it's an ambassador card. So even when we're having trainings, we're ensuring that everyone who's being trained, that they understand the seriousness behind actually accepting one of these cards. Because once you're an ambassador of any country, it's a really big deal. It's not something that's small, but we want people in hospitality to understand that they're ambassadors. Whenever they work and have to deal with guests on a regular basis, that's exactly what you're doing. You're representing us. And we don't want people to think that for instance, when they do something, it's only on them. No, we're all in this together. Yeah. As she said, 85% of the GDP. and it's coming from tourism. So it's always a trickle-down effect. And we just want to ensure that everybody plays their part. Yeah.
I didn't change from the promise card to the ambassador card was good. The name. People break promises. So
That sounds like a setup.
yeah, it sounds like a setup.
No, but it's good. It adds, ambassadors, and you can hold them more accountable, because someone will say, "Oh, but you're an ambassador. Why are you behaving like that?"
You
why
feel
are
bad.
You're gonna be, oh, it's not just a promise. No, it's more accountability.
Yes, and she hit the nail on the head. It's about accountability, because what's going to happen is, even when you get this card, and when we have controllers or even maybe deputy director or myself or anybody else from our department, and we can see that someone's behaving in a manner that isn't like and behaving in a manner that's not like an ambassador, then you can have your card revoked, or you can have your business license revoked. Because for instance, even when we give you, whether it's an accommodations license or whether we give you a license for car rentals or jet skis or whichever one it is, when we give you this tourism license, we're giving you this, and it's basically a contract that you're signing up for, saying you're going to behave in this manner until the duration of this license is expired or so on like that, until you need a new one. And then we have to basically renew your license. But of course, we hold the right to properly do an inspection at any given time. But we're literally holding you accountable for this. And we want people to know that. The reason why we want people to know that is because tourism is the lifeblood. And a lot of people, that's their primary function for making money. And so we want you to take this serious.
Yes.
Really take it serious, because don't let it come to a place where myself or someone from the department has to write you up or has to revoke your license at worst, or even suspend it, because that's not something that anybody would ever want to do. But we also have to ensure that we're protecting the industry and the brand, because so we can't allow you to be conducting yourself in a way that doesn't define an ambassador.
Yeah.
And hearing you explain that more in depth, I'm now getting a better idea of how both of you guys are working hand in hand, where, like you said earlier, for experienced Turks and Caicos, it's about developing the product, showing how best we can create this and promote what is happening in Turks and Caicos.
Yeah.
Whereas for the Department of Tourism Regulations, it's how best can we keep everything to a standard where it is a luxury product straight across the board.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll just even add, sometimes it doesn't necessarily have to be luxury, because yes, we are a luxury destination, and that is what we cater to. But some people have really, really great products. And it might not necessarily be luxury, For instance, you could have a car rental company. It doesn't mean you're giving out car rental luxury. It doesn't mean you have Mercedes and Rolls Royces
to give out.
out there renting them, right?
But there's a standard to have.
But there's a standard. And you can't, and for instance, and even with Tides, it's teaching you about customer service. And I remember when I was naive enough to think that everyone knows customer service.
They don't.
And everyone doesn't.
No, it's not.
And
It's not ingrained.
It's not ingrained, because I always thought, like, it just means be polite. And it's more than that. And it's so much more than that. And I didn't witness it really and truly until I actually worked in hospitality before becoming the director of tourism regulations. And I realized how many people just don't know what to say in certain time frames of
And how to say
who
it.
to say it
And
to.
how to say,
listen. And
How to say it, who to say it
and then I realized, like, wait a second. Yeah, people don't really know what to say. And we spend time even in the trainings to teach business owners, like, about training their staff and making sure your staff knows what to say. Because if your staff doesn't know what to say, there's a good chance your staff might embarrass you. And you don't, and it won't be on purpose, Your staff might embarrass you just by telling the truth. And I've seen it happen before. I've totally seen it happen where staff was just being very honest with the guests, but maybe a little inappropriate. And so, all of those things come back to ensuring that we're protecting the brand and the industry at large, for sure.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that, persons tend to think luxury is always about
Cost.
but it's also about how you make people feel and the value. And if we don't ensure that we maintain or keep our value proposition where it is, as you know, beautiful as our beaches are, and we have a beautiful product here, and you know, the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands are very welcoming and friendly, that can all disappear by just someone just doing the wrong thing. Just persons being impolite, not just passing people and not saying good morning. You know, just the way you answer the phone, or when somebody comes up to you and asks a question and you're like, what are you asking me that for? You know, and our younger people today, because they're so techie space, they don't even understand that there's a thing called verbal communication and body communication. Everything they do is on their phones. That they may end up working in the industry and they don't even know their body language, what it's like to be inviting versus not inviting. So those are important cues that speak to luxury. It's about how you make someone feel, not just only about the price point. And that is what differentiates a lot of destinations from a lot of other destinations that are premium, because it's not just the cost, it's also the value added from the training, the customer service, how you make someone feel. So, you know, I always used to say sometimes you can sell someone sitting and having a picnic under a coconut tree and the most expensive champagne in the world and a meal, and they'll pay $5,000 for it, just because that experience was just so welcoming and inviting. And it may not have been that they had cloth napkins, they could have had paper napkins, and they could have had paper plates or disposable plates. But the fact of the matter is that the whole experience was just so, the proposition and the value of how the persons were treated and how everything was. If the rain fell, there's no tent or no coverage, but they'll be fine because they had that experience that was just so beautiful. Versus when they leave, they're jumping into, you know, a Cadillac and they're like, oh yeah, but that experience was probably more than the Cadillac ride to them, and they will talk about that. So it's so important to what Mr. Adams is saying in terms of, you know, experienced Turks and Caicos and the Department of Tourism regulations are making sure that as the product develops and as we grow and we market the destination, when persons come here, we don't fall short in our physical product and how our individuals interact within the product to our visitors, and even to ourselves. You know, some persons, when they see a tourist, they're so warm and welcoming, and then when they see, oh yeah, hey, what's up, you know, or whatever, man, later, you know, and they're not realizing that it could have just been like not less than 6 feet away, and then they're like, why are you speaking like that, you know? So we have to be conscious that we're always on TV, basically in the tourism
We are
industry.
always ambassadors.
We're always ambassadors. It doesn't matter whether, even if you're going to, you know, the supermarket, if you're in the pharmacy, on all the time. And so we just have to be ready for that. And it's important because that's where many destinations in their growth of tourism have fell down. You know, you start to grow, and then the services, the personalities, the behavior starts to interact and impact. And that's why I believe the vision of what has happened in terms of you have experienced Turks and Caicos and you have the Department of Tourism regulations is to ensure that as we continue to grow, we don't lose sight. You know, we keep focused on what we're doing.
And just before we go to the questions, so I'm just going to, I don't even know what to joke, but I'm just going to share this. So my mentor and I, we were in a different country. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to throw them under the bus.
Oh boy.
But we were there and we were nitpicking at a lot of different things, like the service and the quality of stuff. And she's like, y'all just too spoiled in Turks and Caicos. And I was just like, okay, because what we experience in Turks and Caicos is not even just about luxury, like you mentioned. It's just about how you feel when you interact with different people, the services, the kind of way people interacted, you know, the different products they have. And it was just off. And we was just like, okay, and this, and she's like, y'all just spoiled. And we were like, okay, we are grateful to be in Turks and Caicos. We're grateful to have this product and service because it is a superior product. It is a superior service. We just have to, like you've mentioned, we have to find a way to shape that. We have to find a way to bring out the best sides of it and how we're going to protect that so it can grow and be sustainable for future generations and for the future of the industry.
I'll just piggyback on what you just said, because the person said we're spoiled here, right? But the truth of the matter is, if you pay for something,
you won't be spoiled.
Listen, you want it the way you want it.
Too much good things. That's what they would say.
If I go to the store and I ask for a cheeseburger, I don't want your face to be frowned when you're making my cheeseburger.
Because it's not made with love now.
Yes.
And now it tastes bad. I agree.
Yes, I want it a certain
good
way.
anymore.
And the person spending the money doesn't care if you had a bad day.
Does not.
They don't care whose fault it was. It was Bob from engineering. Like, no, all they see is the company and who's presenting the service, and it doesn't matter where it comes from. And I think all of us are like that, and especially if we travel somewhere else, and it doesn't matter if it's America or France or Europe, or England. It really doesn't, because especially if we pay top dollar, that experience needs to be top notch now. I can't even
The
lie.
expectations get higher.
Yeah.
So, guys, we are going to slide out of this segment and go into our wonderful bowl of questions.
And
you
now we
would've-
have a rookie.
Yes.
I don't want to call him a rookie, but we don't have our normal.
We don't have a normal question writer.
A normal writer. So we're gonna see what this writer
this is
has
gonna be
put
interesting.
together for
Yes.
us.
I'm going to have Mr. Adams go first for the.
And worry not, everyone has to answer it, okay?
How you know if I can read?
Well, that's direct. I know, right? I would hope so.
For regulatory reasons.
If you could swim with JoJo or go diving with sharks, which would you pick and why?
I can answer this first. So I can't swim, with JoJo, and I can't dive, so I can stay on land or I can stay in the
People
boat.
would say you never got pushed off the wharf.
I did not.
For myself, I would rather. I've technically swam. I love how I had to think about it. You're like, what do you mean you would? Why are you taking long? I technically have swam with a shark before. I did scuba diving here, and I saw a reef shark, and I was fine with that. But my preference would probably be dolphins, because that said sharks, plural, right? Whereas it was JoJo.
Sharks?
Yeah.
JoJo or sharks, right?
Yes.
Is that JoJo or shark?
JoJo, the singular
The plural.
dolphin, or sharks, the plural. I am going with the one dolphin.
I'm going with a dolphin because I know even if I go near the reef, they're going to help me with, like, scare off the sharks. They're good protectors and they know how to butt them in their heads and take care of them. I like dolphins because they're also adventurous and, they tend to like to follow along. I'm not getting into the whole mammal cuddly thing.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to do that, I'd prefer to do it with a dolphin because at least I know if there is a shark, they're going to handle it for me.
Okay.
And you?
Well, my skin complexion is a little too dark to go with sharks. In fact, the only person I know this color who's with sharks is her, apparently. So, yeah, it's going to be the dolphin.
It was a singular shark, though.
Yeah, I'm
Now,
not getting
the
next to
plural
sharks.
sharks business, I cannot do.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have to worry about them because I'm on land.
I think that's really cheating. She just was like, I'm not
telling you,
answering.
yeah.
She's not answering.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
this one will be our last one.
This will be our last one. Let's see. What in the Turks and Caicos Islands is on the top of your bucket list?
Okay, so I guess I can answer first again. So I recently found out that people actually, well, not people, there have been some persons or a person who have done like camping on East Caicos. And I thought that was quite interesting. So I was like, you know what? I'd like to go to East Caicos for like, I don't know if I could do 3 days, but we could probably try like 1 or 2 days. And, experience and just go around and see what's there. Because after I heard that, I was like, okay, I need to go and see what East Caicos looks like. You can't even find no pictures really online. I didn't really see a lot of what East Caicos looked like.
A lot
or
of
anything.
donkeys.
Well, I don't know about donkeys, but I want to experience it and see it. And I want to get the experience of camping. And it'd be great to do it in Turks and Caicos.
I can't top
I was thinking about that one, and I'm really upset about that because that was genuinely going to be mine. But I would say instead, since we're doing sister islands and trying to show that indeed you can have tourism all about the TCI. I was told by someone some time ago that apparently in South Caicos, they have some of the oldest records with regards to some of the churches here.
Oh, really?
In the TCI. Yeah. And I think I'd like to go and read some records.
A real Anglican.
Yes. A real Anglican.
Records like music?
No, not records like music, dog.
No,
Some documents,
Documents.
I just want music.
Oh, documents.
I am quite the historian at heart.
that's interesting.
So I would like to explore that a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you go. I don't want to.
No, we're in this order.
He's still thinking of his own.
So I would like to do glamping. I'm not doing camping. I'm all about, I need a little bit of certain things. So I'm willing to do the camping thing, but I want to make sure that I'll do it after you.
Let her speak about it first, right?
And then maybe we'll work with the individuals, the stakeholders to develop the product, because I believe that glamping is a great opportunity. Persons really do spend a lot of money, but it has to be glamping.
Agreed.
There has to be an area where there is some
safety.
Some safety. Not
There
only
needs to
safety,
be an indoor toilet.
indoor bathroom facilities. Some persons need blow dryers. I'm not particular with that. A little Wi-Fi somewhere.
Oh yeah.
A little Wi-Fi. I'm
Yeah.
not asking for the TV, just a little Wi-Fi.
A nice cabin, perhaps.
That'd be nice.
I wouldn't go with a cabin, but the
Like a nice
glamping.
hutch.
Like the little thatch huts that we had back in the day.
but they're
That's
Well,
what make them fancy.
fancy.
Yes.
Yeah, fancy.
Agreed.
knocked out a deal.
Yeah,
right?
I think I'm at that space because I've done enough camping already in my space, and I'm okay.
Would you like some fresh linens as
I
well?
want fresh linens. I want the outside bathroom, running water. Yeah.
camping.
Yeah, I want the glamping.
Yes.
Yeah, the glamour
can
party.
agree with
Yeah.
For me, I can't think of anything per se, but I will say, before I used to volunteer a lot, a lot, coaching youth basketball and different stuff like that. And I would probably say further pushing that type of stuff and impacting a lot of youth, especially young men in the community, and probably trying to give guidance and different stuff. Anything centered around that, I probably would say definitely is up my street, or stuff that I'd like to do or continue doing, because I feel like I've allowed the busyness of adulting to
Take
get into
over.
the way. For the last 2 years or so, because before I felt like I kind of devoted my life to that type of stuff, whether it's afternoons or Saturdays. Now I feel like I don't know the last time I had an afternoon or a Saturday, but at some point I definitely feel like you just got to push it and make it and just continue doing whatever it is that you have to do. But I definitely, whether it's getting back to coaching or just helping around in the schools and different stuff like that, for sure.
And, I just want to say something to this thing. I've read and I've saw different things where persons, they actually enjoy traveling and coming and volunteering doing stuff. So
Yeah.
like if there was a basketball game, they came and joined in, or it was a school program and they joined in.
Volunteerism.
So they like to, give a day and do something, to the community, feel like they're impacting and really being a part of what's happening there.
For sure.
So-
I think that's what it is for me. Just kind of trying to impact in a positive way. Because I definitely feel like at the end of the day, have you helped anyone? Have you made life better for any particular person? It says volumes about anything else more than anything.
Yeah.
Well, this conversation was good. I love it. This is my area. So
This was
love it.
definitely a point of glee for my dear co-host Siggy. But honestly, this conversation has been so interesting, I have to say, and enlightening, just to get a better understanding, especially with a new department coming into play and with experienced Turks and Caicos doing more in our community. I think people watching this are definitely going to be really intrigued to hear about what's going on as far as tourism. I think I've heard before that it's like tourism is everybody's business.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm really intrigued about that. And before we fully sign off, I do want to give you guys the opportunity to say what is one thing each of you would like for people to take away from Tourism Environmental Awareness Month.
I would like, if you don't mind, I'll just go first. I would like persons to take away from it that tourism is theirs. We have to protect the beauty and the natural assets that the Turks and Caicos Islands has. And we can do anything we set our mind to. And there's no other product than what is here. There are other destinations that are striving to fix or repair, but I want them to know that the tourism product that is here it is theirs, and we need to take care of it and we need to build on it. And we're not here to take away from anyone. We're only here as organizations to help.
I think I'll piggyback on that because a lot of people get from it that, okay, it's a new organization, and of course we know how change can impact people sometimes. But I want people to take one thing away, is that we're here to help. We're not here to just give you more work or be a burden or anything like that. It's how do we get your product to a great product that we can sell all across the world? And how do we maintain your product? And ensuring, and so even when it comes to tides, I remember people had questions about testing and different stuff. Our honorable minister was like telling people, I'll come and study at your house, just jokingly playing with them. Because the truth is, it's not about failing or passing. It's about just ensuring that you could be able to speak TCI language, ensure that you could keep your product. And we just want you to know that we're here to help you. That's it. Like that, nothing less, nothing more. Because truth be told is we're nothing but servants in our own roles. That we're here to serve a purpose, serve people, make things easier for them, and even show them a thing or two maybe they didn't know before. And of course, for them to show us and teach us as well too, because we don't know everything, and we definitely don't know everything about some of the different aspects of tourism as well. But we could tell you one thing we will do is help. We're here to help, for sure.
Well, this has been such an amazing conversation. Don't want it to end. Well, I actually appeal to Barbara, both of you, one of you later on in the weeks. You can look up for that. But this has been such a great conversation. We are so happy to have you back with us, Racquel Brown, and
Thank
for you, Mr. Adams, for coming on from your respective organizations to talk about Tourism Month. And just before we close out, I don't know how y'all feel, but I feel like we should all say Happy Tourism Month together to close out.
Okay.
So on the count of 3.
All right.
1, 2, 3. Happy Tourism Month.
If you visit the Keys and the Turks and Caicos Islands, you would find there are many things to see. Exotic birds, tropical fruits and flowers, blowing in the ocean, fresh breeze. Don't be startled if you hear a noise in the bushes. Don't be